5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and for the witnesses for being here today for this critically important hearing. I also want to extend my thank you to Laurel Grant and Amy Hunter for being here and to represent all families of the victims of that horrific crash that occurred just last month and just a short distance away from where we are sitting right now. Our skies are busier than ever. Safety has to be our #1 priority. This committee has sounded the alarm about aviation workforce shortages, particularly air traffic controllers, for years. The issue has never been partisan. As my colleagues have said, we worked across the aisle to craft and pass the bipartisan Federal Aviation Administration Reauthorization Act of 2024, and it passed the House overwhelmingly. This bill lays out a clear roadmap to improve our air traffic control system, including hiring more air traffic controllers to address critical understaffing issues and updating aging air traffic control technology and systems, many of which are decades old. Paper strips and floppy disks, as Mr. Callio has recently testified. After the devastating crash at Reagan Airport and a series of incidents across the country, including 2 fatal accidents recently at Arizona airports, my colleagues and I did send a letter to Secretary Duffy 2 weeks ago calling on him to immediately implement these bipartisan improvements in the FAA reauthorization. Instead of focusing on those safety improvements, Secretary Duffy has sidestepped this committee's bipartisan informed FAA bill and invited Elon Musk and DOGE to poke around the FAA and the complex air traffic control systems. We cannot allow Silicon Valley's move fast and break things ethos to impact our commitment to safety in the United States aviation sector. Case in point, Secretary Duffy allowed DOGE to hand out pink slips to hundreds of critical air traffic control staff. That action alone should be setting off alarm bells for every member of this committee concerned about maintaining the gold standard in aviation safety. Mr. Spiro, as my colleagues and I have mentioned here today, the recent firings at the FAA targeted some safety specialists, including members of Professional Aviation Safety Specialists, or PASS. Can you briefly speak to the importance of these individuals who were fired and the impact that has on aviation safety?
Congressman, thank you for the question. Thank you for recognizing the folks that we represent. I've brought up a few of them here today, but I'll talk about another handful of people. Telecommunications specialists. Some of them were fired because they're probationary employees. They have a very specific field of expertise when it comes to, and Mr. Daniels was talking about telecommunications issues. They have a very specific field of expertise when it comes to internet protocol, and of course, the agency is going through a transition right now, trying to get off of something called time domain multiplexing and going to internet protocol, and that's causing them a problem and a lot of money. In the midst of that, we fire some of those folks. And when we talk about the management and program assistance, it seems like that's a very bureaucratic job. It's not. It supports our technician workforce, our airway transportation system specialists, so they can accomplish the work that they do every day. Logistics, making sure that contractors are there on time, and a variety of other tasks that they don't have to spend time away from doing.
I really appreciate the answer. Mr. Daniels, some in the industry are calling for limits to Article 114 activities, which obviously promotes labor management, discussion, conversation on improving our national aviation systems, including safety. What would be the consequences of changes in relation to aviation safety?
Congressman, I appreciate the question. There's no better example than between 2006 and 2009. When the FAA and the NACA did not have an agreement in place, there were 0 technologies implemented or actually deployed to the field for 3 consecutive years when NACA SMEs subject matter experts weren't involved. It cannot be a system where you don't involve the very people who work with the equipment day in and day out. Leadership 101 is you go and work with those closest to the issue. We are the ones closest to the issue. We will continue to seek solutions that are a cost savings to the taxpayers, and that is our commitment.
We really appreciate that, and bringing labor and management to the table has real benefits, including on aviation safety. Finally, we can be creative in finding solutions to staffing problems. The FAA Contract Tower Program is one of the FAA's most successful government industry partnerships. The FAA Reauthorization Act included my provision directing the FAA to establish a pilot program to convert high-activity air traffic control towers operating under the Contract Tower Program to FAA-staffed visual flight rule towers. And I just wanted to make note that that is a program that we need to implement and move forward with. It's important to my district, including Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, and with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Mr.